An honor to present Debbie Fox. This is the Esther Solomon Memorial Award. I was just, better if I do it in the mic. Okay, here we go. Debbie, we're good? Okay. Rosh Hashanah Hirsch says on yesterday's Parsha, he talks about the moment where Yaakov is meeting with his family to tell them about the future. And the Lashon, as you'll remember, is he's going to tell them, Asher Yikra Eschem Ba'achris Hayamim. So Rav Hirsch talks about why the spelling of the word Yikra ends with an aleph instead of a hey. Right? If we're talking about what's going to happen to you in the future, it should not end with an aleph, but it does. So he says that the reason why it ends with an aleph, because it doesn't mean what's going to happen to you, but it means what's going to call out to you. What is the call to all of us now and in the future in terms of going from Gorol to Yiyud, going from a place of helplessness, of feeling like a log on the river floating at the mercy of a current, to Yiyud, a place of destiny. That's what Debbie Fox's career has been all about. Unlike almost everybody, Debbie has seen needs in the Jewish community, and instead of just seeing it as things that are happening that one could complain about or be depressed about, Debbie has consistently transformed the hay to the olive. She's seen it as a call to action in so many areas, be it in her incredibly creative programming for Holocaust survivors and their families, in a way that was way ahead of its time, and I often marvel when I hear what she's done in that area. Be it in using her second master's, which was in gerontology from USC, to provide incredibly innovative programming in terms of setting up an adult day hospital program in California, be it most notably in the amazing work around the world that Debbie has set up in terms of dealing with primary and secondary and tertiary prevention of child sexual abuse. She set up model programs that involve not just a hit-and-run lecture to a community, but involve really changing the community in terms of setting up a model program that is working with the rabbis in the community, working with law enforcement people in the community, working with the parents, working with the children, working with the teachers. It's become a verb. When I'm asked sometimes to speak about child abuse in different parts of the world, and it doesn't matter if it's Australia, South Africa, or different parts of Europe, the United States, or Canada, inevitably, very early on, the conversation turns to Debbie Fox is a verb. Basically goes like this. Did you, do you think we should Debbie Fox? And everybody knows what that means. I don't know if you know, she's a verb. You're married to a verb, okay? And it's effective. It's amazing. I could bore you here. I could keep you here for hours talking about the countless lives that Debbie has touched with her preventing abuse, not just dealing with it in a very effective way once it's disclosed, but with preventing who knows how many thousands of Jewish children from being abused all over the world. And then most recently with her Seminary Savvy program and book, which brings it in a way that only Debbie can, to thinking about, okay, how do we get seminary girls to take ownership of their own experience during their studies, and how do we bring prevention of maltreatment to young women? And I could go on, but I won't because I don't want to embarrass you anymore. I'll just end before I read the actual plaque. I'll end with, because I was thinking about what kept coming to my mind in thinking about Debbie was the magnificent words of Rav Kook. And many of you know this, but I think it just captures a life of somebody who has answered the call of the need of our people. Hatzadikim hatahorim, einam kovlim al harisha. Do not complain about evil, ela mosifim tzedek. Instead, they add righteousness. Einam kovlim al hakfira. You don't complain about kfira, ela mosifim emunah. You work on adding faith and answers to skepticism and critics. Einam kovlim al habarus. They don't complain about foolishness. Ella mosifim chachma. Except they work on adding wisdom. That's been the career of Debbie Fox and her amazing husband, who they work synergistically. But this isn't for Rabbi Dr. David, it's for Debbie. And I'll just read this to you if I could call you up, Debbie. We are NEFESH and thank the nominating committee for the work they've done on choosing such a worthy recipient. So the Esther Solomon Award, Memorial Award, is presented to Debbie Fox, founder and director of Magen Yeladim Child Safety Institute, in recognition of her outstanding contributions to mental health in the Torah community. Her pioneering and innovative programs have made our community safer for our children. 19th Annual NEFESH International Conference, December 27th, 2015.
Thank you. I want to thank you all for the honor of being the recipient of the Esther Solomon Memorial Award. And I think for all of us who knew Esther and her role in the founding years of NEFESH and the numbers of meetings we had around the Solomon dining room table, she's truly missed. And receiving this award in her name is very, very meaningful to me. In truth, I kind of feel like I'm receiving this award for all of us in the room that have worked on sexual abuse prevention and intervention over the last 20 years or so. And I have to admit that Rabbi Twersky, through his self-disclosure yesterday, helped me understand my own feelings about accepting this award. As over the past couple of days, as everybody has wished me mazel tov or commented on the award, I have felt myself cringe inside, and that kind of embarrassed, cringing feeling. But now I understand that this is an internal, low self-esteem, Yetzer Hara issue from within. And I have gained clarity, and I know what I can do. I can either choose to go to an AA meeting and work it through. I can post for a competent therapist on the NEFESH listserv. I can call relief for a referral. Or I can sit in the jacuzzi for longer than the 8 minutes Rabbi Twersky did. On a more serious note, I'd like to just start at the beginning. Over 40 years ago, my father, who was then the vice president of Torah Masorah and a principal of a model pioneer school on the West Coast, hired a new Rebbe for his day school. And this Rebbe was charismatic, one of the most popular rebbeim that he had ever hired. And as time went on, my father developed this uh-oh feeling about this Rebbe, and he began to watch him more closely. Was he too familiar with the girls? Why did his relationships with girls in school make my old world Moroccan father uncomfortable? After all, my father encouraged Shabbatones and activities between students and staff. This was a Kiruv school. Could it be my father was jealous of how popular this Rebbe was? The girls idolized the Rebbe. They would do anything for his special attention. My father couldn't put his finger on the issue, but he kept a close eye on him anyway. Something wasn't right. My father just struggled. The Rebbe had 7 sons. These girls were just students. What could possibly be the issue? But he kept listening to his inner voice. And he watched the Rebbe very carefully. And he paid attention to who he was spending time with. And he even followed him in his car when he took girls out. And sure enough, as we know about that uh-oh feeling, he found the Rebbe in an extremely compromising situation with a student from a very dysfunctional home. My father's Moroccan blood boiled, and he fired him. He kicked him and his family out of town. He told him he would make sure that he never got a position in chinuch again. And whenever my father heard that he was applying for a job in a yeshiva, my father called the yeshiva and told them not to hire him. The Rebbe was infuriated. He took my father to a beis din of the finest gedolim of our day. My father was the vice president of Torah Masorah for many, many years, and the beis din ruled against him. But didn't stop him. He continued to prevent the Rebbe from ever getting a job in chinuch until the Rebbe left the field. 40 years ago, my father was the first of the pioneers in this work of identifying and dealing with sexual abuse in frum schools. But he was a lone soldier. The parents were angry at him for firing the best Rebbe they had known. The students were angry. The gedolim were angry. And with no support, protecting children was still his priority. But times have changed. And over the past 20 years, since NEFESH's inception, we have accomplished so much in the field of sexual abuse education, prevention, and intervention. About 12 years ago, there was a terrible incident of sexual abuse in Los Angeles. A Rebbe used secret Torah time to seriously molest children in school. Barry Horowitz and David Pelkowitz were brought out. David worked with the staff and parents, and Barry and I went into all the classes. That was followed 6 months later by an incident of a staff member who slept with a 15-year-old girl in his home. And soon after that, 4 4-year-old boys were sodomized by a counselor in a camp. The Los Angeles Rabbanim mobilized. They worked with me, and we needed to take action. We needed to know that we would make a difference in creating a safer community for our children. And thus, the Safety Kid program was born. It was created to make a difference, to educate and empower kids, parents, and schools to create safer communities. The Safety Kid program has now touched the lives of over 38,000 children, their parents, staff, schools, and administrators in California, in 3 different New York communities: Chicago, Detroit, Florida, St. Louis, Denver, Toronto, Ottawa, Cleveland, Waterbury, and many other communities. And I need to share with you that which gives me personally the greatest feeling of accomplishment. It's not the communities. It's the little things, the preventive things. When the principal of a school called me on Friday and said, "We have a girl in our 7th grade whose knowledge about sexuality is way beyond her years. She's talking to other students and drawing pictures that look to us like pornography. When you were here, you described this as a red flag. Now what should we do?" When a father called me and told me that he had had the talk that I recommended with his son, and he included in the discussion that if his son ever had any issues at all related to being touched or touching others, that his father would always be available, would always listen, and always support and love his son. And one Friday night, just a couple of months ago, this 15-year-old son, home from yeshiva for Shabbos, knocked on the bedroom door of his father at 2 a.m. "Tati," he said, "I need to speak to you. You told me you'd be there for me any time." The father put on a robe and sat on the couch with his son. "Tati," his son whispered, "I just touched my sister, and this isn't the first time." And he looked at his son, and with his right hand, he wanted to strangle him for violating his daughter. And with his left, he held him and said, "I love you, and I'm going to get you the help you need." Or even the children. The boy who, when approached in a yeshiva dorm by a roommate just about 3 weeks ago, and the roommate pulled his covers down and touched him, and the boy yelled no, ran out of the room, and called his parents, and in the morning told his Rebbe. Or the 9-year-old who wouldn't allow the 15-year-old to play pull the zipper down touching games. Or just 2 weeks ago, the 7-year-old girl who kicked the janitor who tried to touch her in the shins. These children, they live in a safer world. Their schools, their parents, and they themselves, they know so much more about how to protect themselves and to keep themselves safe. It's a community effort. Schools, parents, and children working together, and our children are safer. Last month in Israel, I spoke on a panel for Rabbanim, and there was a powerful young woman who had been a victim of physical and sexual abuse. And she described her nightly ritual at 5 years old. I would look up at Shemayim and I would say, "Please, please, don't let me wake up in the morning. No more. It's been enough." And then when she would wake up in the morning at 5 years old, she would look up and say, "Hashem, I will not say Moda'ani because I don't thank you." We all want the same thing. We want our children tucked safely in their covers at night and to rise in the morning to a safe and secure world. But it really takes all of us. It takes all of us who are in education and prevention programs, and all of us who are involved in consultation, and all of us who are involved in treatment and intervention, and all of those who provide referrals. It takes all of us collaborating together, because we can provide a world for our children where they can safely wake up and say Moda'ani. About 6 months ago, I was flying from Ottawa to New York, and I was upgraded to first class. The man next to me worked in the creative department of a World Health Organization, and he traveled about 5 months a year. I was quietly working on my computer on a PowerPoint on sexual abuse prevention for parents. "I hope you don't mind if I ask," he said, "but exactly what is that you're working on?" I explained my project, and he looked at me and said nothing. But his eyes didn't leave mine for over a minute. And finally he said, "Thank you. I wish you had been there for me about 35 years ago. You are doing God's work." That may have been the message of a stranger on one of the very few first-class upgrades I've ever gotten. But I believe him. For all of us who do this work, even when it is so painful and difficult for us, protecting Hashem's children is God's work. There's a major difference between my father's efforts and our efforts. 40 years ago, he was a lone soldier. And we all stand here and we support each other. We're not put in cherem today. Today, we receive an award. Over the past 20 years, NEFESH has provided a forum for all mental health issues within our Orthodox world. While 20 years ago, we loved that first NEFESH National Conference at the Crown, where we had to maneuver our way through the older adults who were in their exercise class in order to get into the dining room. Remember that? And we shared our experiences and we shared our expertise, and we had such enthusiasm just at seeing each other and seeing other from people in mental health. And the NEFESH founders, the Solomons, the Feinbergs, the Holzers, the Glicks, David Pelkowitz, Norman Blumenthal, and many others, they brought us together under the rabbinic leadership of Rav David Cohen and Rabbi Torsky. And here we are 20 years later, a highly professional and growing group whose conference truly meets the standards of any APA conference. I want to honor and thank the NEFESH board, not only for your continued leadership and professionalism, but for valuing the need for Orthodox mental health professionals to join in both friendship and spirituality as well. For those of us who spend our days giving of ourselves to others, and so often hearing the underside of a community that we love and we live in, the love and the warmth and the depth of the NEFESH friendships, as well as the shira and the tefillah and the chizuk of the workshops addressing our own spirituality, those are the essential nutrients for our NEFESH. I don't stand and accept this Esther Solomon Memorial Award as a lone soldier, but as a member of NEFESH, and I thank you.
Where's Simcha? Where's Simcha? Where's Simcha?
Oh, wait, should I move this up? It blocks back.
There he is.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and my father's first position was actually in LA. I informed that.
If all board members can please come up to the podium for a picture, please. All NEFESH board members.
Like 6 years ago. He was like,
That means you.
the bells are kind of.
Sounds like camp. It does sound like camp.
As Rabbi Greenwald was my father.
Yeah.
You know, his father says 60 years. My father's like,
What was that? I'm sorry.
yeah.
You will come clapping in the dining room. Rifki Young Rice.
Take whoever's there.
Yep,
Take whoever's there.
there she is. I don't think Rucham is here.
No.
Okay. All right, who wants to take a picture? Where's Alice? Alice Tusk, are you in the dining room? Alice Tusk.